when it's bad, I've taken a lot of chances. I have self-medicated. I have drank way too much alcohol, and some of those days I was driving, and it was bad. I was at times so angry at people. I remember a day a guy cut me off on the highway, and then we got off the same exit, and he opened his window to yell at me. I opened my window and I said, "You should shut your window right now, or this will be the last breath you ever take on this planet, and I'll end you." And, you know, self-destructive behavior, bad stuff. I used to take chances with my life, and it's not helping anybody.
What was your reaction to what you had said to him on that exit?
Well, that was a time in my life when there was a lot of anger, and that felt like I was, you can't hurt me, I'm just going to end you. So that was a time when before I had forgiven the olive-skinned man, and I felt great. Now, when things like that happen, we've lost. I used to have the ability to handle anything, handle any stress. I was vice president with a bank, and I sold, $1 million a year in services, and I could handle anything. I could come home and deal with anything, handle people, handle phone calls, and now those situations happen. You get a angry guy on a phone or something like that. I just can't get it. I just have anxiety attacks, and I'll just fall on the floor. I never thought about committing suicide, and this is another huge problem. Because I have hope, because I know that there's a God, and I know that there's something more than this, and I know that my life doesn't belong to me. Okay, my life belongs to you and to everybody who may be listening to this. My life belongs to God, and it's all about what He can do through me. And I've been sent to places where I saved people from committing suicide. I didn't know why I was going there, but when I got there, I realized. And then they realized why I was there, to save them from hurting themselves. But it wasn't too long ago, Bruce. It was one night, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I didn't want to kill myself, but I wished that it was over. I just wished, and I prayed to God that He would just take me. Just take me. Just let me die. And the guilt is the other thing. I was the manager of the bank. I was in charge of everybody in the bank. So after this guy shoots me, all right, I get it. You're angry. You wanted money. He shot me. Then he turned around and he shot 2 of my coworkers before he left. He shot each of us twice. Why would he shoot these girls? Why? So now, for years, the guilt, because I was in charge and I couldn't protect them. In my book, I write about 2 kinds of guilt. The traumatic guilt and consequential guilt. The traumatic guilt of the whole experience, and then the consequential guilt of that as a consequence, these people who got hurt because of this accident that happened, this thing, it's not an accident, this was an intentional cruel act that happened, and you're responsible for it, that you should have done something. So I should have jumped over the desk, and I should have done this, or I should have done this differently. You go through days and weeks and years and decades of blaming yourself for the things that have happened to either yourself or to other people, because you should have been smarter, you should have been stronger, you should have been braver, you should have known, but you didn't. You did the best you could based on the experience that you had with the circumstances that were around you. And the minute that you understand that There's nothing that you could do, and you're not to blame, and that you forgive yourself will also change your life. You have to reinvent yourself. We're never going to be the same guy that I was before. I was the guy, I was in sales with a bank, and I was the man. Thousands of clients, 100 at a time, making millions of dollars for the bank, and I feel really horrible. I'm never going to be that guy again. I'd like to be that guy again, but I'm not. But the thing is, that's okay, because I'm a new guy. But you have to learn how to reinvent yourself.
Right.
There's a way through this. There's a process. And after 20 some odd years, I started to write, I started to put all this stuff down. I decided that I had to write this book. And because I learned a lot about healing, and I wrote this book, and I was inspired by, my faith, really, to write this book and to help people who need help even more than I do right now, because there's a lot that needs to be learned. There's a lot that I still need to know, but there's a lot that people need to know. The simplest tool for me, I get up in the morning, usually my wife is already up, and, big hug. That's my first tool in the morning. That physical contact, letting that love in, it recharges my battery. It's just the simplest thing, but it's one of the most powerful daily tools that you could possibly use. Just that physical contact. The hug from my wife is, Maria, is just, you gotta let that love in, because you gotta get rid of that. What we're talking about is such deep breathing that it actually brings relaxation to the body. So breathing really deeply in and then holding it, and then a huge exhale, using a diaphragm to push all that air out, and doing that a couple of times a day. It makes, and these are not just imaginary changes, these are physiological changes that happen with chemical events that change in your body. The smell you referred to, same thing. I used to do the little pack of pine needles from, the redwood forest in California, like that, and those smells make chemical changes in your brain. And they bring back, those memories are imprinted. When you bring back those memories, same way you bring back a memory of a flashback, the way it devastates us, those good memories, which are imprinted through the adrenaline effect, also bring back, and they change, and they bring us to a different place. You change the way your brain is thinking. If you cannot put that image in yourself, do the smell, changes your image. These sounds, it actually changes the brain waves, and they will create physiological, chemical effects in your brain and your body that will create chemicals that will calm you down. And then, of course, just sometimes music. Singing. I'll sing to myself. My wife will be like, Rob, you must be feeling better. You're singing. I'm like, no, I'm singing because I don't feel better. And so there's also another tool called guided imagery. And guided imagery is an amazing, amazing thing. It's a tool to help change where your brain is, change how you are, change how you're thinking. You're talking about, closing your eyes, you're at a place, maybe you're at the beach and the sun is shining on your face and you can hear the waves. Can you hear the waves? And you hear the waves washing. Can you hear the water washing? And you're going through this whole guided imagery where you're walking down to the beach and you feel the sand in your toes and the sun on your face, and all of a sudden you're there. It's like a good flashback. It's all about your faith, because I would be dead right now if I didn't have my faith in God. I'd be dead. My faith in God, and I didn't have the angel that He sent me, my wife. Those two things, I would certainly be dead from all this stuff now and be over. You got to know how to do this. And it's not easy. One of the most difficult things to do, especially when all this is ingrained about planning for the 1-year plan, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, just thinking about tomorrow, never being where you are. I know it's this cliche, but it's not. Living in the moment, enjoying what's in front of you, My wife, Maria, taught me that. It's like, Rob, what are you talking about next week, next month, next year? I'm right here in front of you. You know, so that hug in the morning or in the afternoon or whenever I can get that hug, it grounds me and it brings me to the present. There's nothing that exists except me and my wife and that hug. And these are tools. And there's hundreds more like it, but we need to practice this kind of stuff that teaches us to live in the moment. So coping strategies. You know, I've always been, even before I was shot, I was always the health guy. Mm-hmm. I always worked out. I used to do taekwondo, so martial arts, and you know, later in life, I learned things like yoga, and always went to the gym. And so I've always been that guy, and I've always found that those tools are very helpful coping mechanisms when you're feeling anxiety or depression. I also have huge amounts of physical pain, even more now than I have ever had. I have tons of surgeries in my front and my back, and so tons of scar tissue. And going to the gym, you break that scar tissue up, and that scar tissue around those muscles is very painful, and they impinge nerves, and the pain runs down your arm and your back, up your head. So exercise, still helps. And even if it hurts, I still do it because, exercise, it creates feel-good hormones, okay? Those feel-good hormones that you need. It's like an antidepressant. Right. So it's not like an antidepressant, it is an antidepressant. It's exactly what that is. So even when, you're not feeling well, I'll exercise. So health, there's the mind, the body. We've got to take care of ourselves. There's so many foods that you can have on a daily basis. This is a lifestyle. First, you have to eliminate the things that are bad for us. The things that promote stress, anxiety, the bad nutrition, fried foods, high glycemic index foods. I lost my kidney, my spleen, and part of my pancreas. As a result, am immunocompromised, so I get sick easier, I get bronchitis easier, I may get pneumonia easy, and I'm also now a diabetic because of it all. So I have to eat like a champ because I have kids, I want to live. And if I don't, I'm going to die. So I had to learn I learned a lot about the glycemic index. So when you're eating refined sugars like, sugar, cake, cookies, donuts, all this simple stuff with a lot of sugar in it, it's horrible for you, and it's horrible for your stress and your anxiety level. You may not know it, but it is. And then your body feeds off it, you want more of it, and you just get more anxious. If you can deal with gluten, whole grains, whole grain pasta is real whole grain bread. That stuff is really good for you. It's high in magnesium. Magnesium is one of those elements that calms us down. Magnesium is one of those elements that acts as a natural muscle relaxer. Taking magnesium, you need to take calcium and magnesium together in a 3-to-1 ratio because you need one to have the other one absorbed. When you take it in whole foods like a grain, all that stuff is in there already. So I prefer the whole foods part of it. I do a lot of juicing of vegetables, seaweed, stuff like that is really, really good. B vitamins through food or through supplements, and they calm the nervous system as well. Things like fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids will calm the nervous system. 2012, my doctor, my psychiatrist, asked me to come to his office, and he said, "Rob, come in Friday." It wasn't my scheduled appointment, and he said, "I'd like you to come in, and I'd like you to talk to me and a group of other psychiatrists." And I'm like, "Great! Like, So all you guys are gonna heal me, right? Like in a day. That's, you know, wonderful. He's like, no, we were hoping that you could teach us. And I'm like, here I am, the guy at home who's having all this nightmares and depression and flashbacks and anxiety, and you want me to do what?
Yeah.
Right? And so, look, I'll bite, you know, all right, I'll bite on the hook, and I'll come in, I'll do that season. So I figured, you know, what am I going to teach these guys? They've been doing it for 40 years each, so, you know, a couple hundred years of experience in the room. So there I am starting, he's asking me questions like you are, and we're doing this interview, and, you know, what is a flashback to you? And so a flashback to me is, people don't realize, people just think it's like this thing in your head where you have this image, like a nightmare, but it's in your head and you're just imagining this thing in your head like a vision. There's no vision. There's Bruce, there's Rob, and there's the olive skin man, the guy who shot me and got away and shot my two friends and got away with it and was never seen again. And he's in the room, he looks just like we do, his physical form, and he's right there. And the gun is exploding in my head, and I am jumping under the table and I'm screaming like a little baby. Okay, and you could see the gunshot, you could smell the smoke, and I'm sitting under there, everybody's wondering what happened just now.
What's going on?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
What's wrong with you? Not in your head. It's right there. For a vet, you're back in the battlefield. You're in the LZ, and there's rounds flying over your head. There's rounds flying at me too. For somebody with domestic abuse, it's their attacker, whoever that was. And it could have been one time, and it could have been protracted, of course. So, and that's the other thing about trauma. So there are these, you know, one-time traumas, and then there's these complex traumas that have happened, protracted over a period of time, and many different events, and this is even more difficult. Yeah, there are 100 things that we need to do: health, diet, exercise, meditation, prayer. There's just 100 things you need to do every day, and all of that combined, it's a lifestyle, and you have to change the way you live, and you have to rethink yourself and reinvent yourself, and you have to fight when you don't want to fight. I know, you know, one of these things is, do I ever feel emotionally numb?
Yes.
I wish I feel emotionally numb. I wish I did. I wish I felt emotionally numb. I don't.
Not a symptom for you.
I don't feel numb. I wish I did. Then at least I wouldn't feel anything.
Well, it's a different perspective for everybody, because PTSD strikes each person differently.
Absolutely.
So when that happens, you speak of, I wish I could, and other people, that's their safe place. They go emotionally numb because they have their anger jacket on, if you will. And that's where,
Yeah.
Nope, you're not getting to me. It's my safe place. Circle of man. Yeah.
Exactly.
Everybody's alone.
Right.
Stay
And there's
over.
all these different stages that you're at. Until you get rid of that bubble, that bulletproof vest, that's a stage.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, and my shooting was 25 years ago, last month. And people think that time heals all the wounds. Bullshit. Time does not heal these wounds. People say, why don't you just forget about it? Rob, why don't you just forget about it? Bruce, right? I'm sure you've heard that. It's been a long time ago. You're not in danger anymore. And when you wake up from nightmares that you've had all night long, and you've been killed over and over and over, you feel like you're in danger.
Every day.
Because there's a lot we all need to learn about what's going on up here. I'll get an email or a phone call from somebody. Go on my website, they'll call me up. People are like, Rob, come and please help me. And I'll go and I'll help them or I'll talk. And you did. I sent this stuff out about nightmares and all this stuff, and I got a phone call from you. And it's all part of the process. And you have to talk about it. And, talking about it, writing about it, and speaking about it is helpful. And I couldn't do this 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I just wanted to die. 9 years ago, I wanted to die. 2 years ago, I wanted to die. Some days, some moments, I still want to die. But I don't. I choose to live. One day after I got out of the hospital and I started recovering, so in the early 90s, one of the bullets I was shot with was still in my back and it started to bother me. So I went to a surgeon and I had him take it out. I was awake. It was just ambulatory. He just gave me a local in my back. And he says, Rob, I'm really excited. Now, he was the chief of general surgery at North Shore Hospital. He goes, I'm really excited because I've never taken a bullet out before. This is my first bullet. I'm so excited. I'm taking out this bullet. And it's not like you're going to die from it. This is a cool thing for me. So he comes around and he takes the bullet in the forceps and he goes, I always wanted to do this. And he drops the bullet in the little metal tin, ding, shh. And he goes, I always wanted to do that. And he takes the bullet out, cleans it off, he puts it in my hand, he goes, this bullet is very special to you. Don't let anybody take this bullet from you. Anyway, I took that bullet and I brought it to my jeweler and I had him put it on this chain and I hang it around my neck as a symbol of hope. This is the bullet that God sent to me that saved my life. The day I died was the worst day of my life. Those 77 days, worst day. But that day was also the very best day of my life. Same day, worst day and best day. I came back into my body. I came back to life. EMS is bringing me back to life. They're like, it's a miracle. I'm like, yeah, it is. It was a miracle, but not the kind that you may be thinking of. And they put me in the ambulance that day, and it was November. It was really cold out, and they went to start the ambulance. He was like, go, 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 go. And the light above my head went to black and the ignition went click, 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 and the battery was dead. But I felt great. I just died, right? I felt great because I'm going to live. All I knew was Angel told me, I'm going to live today. Mary said, you're going to live. So I'm like, bring it on. I said to the guy, this is going to ruin my whole day, that the battery died. He was like, you're not even allowed to laugh. What is wrong with you? Do you know what happened to you? I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah, that's my bullet story, and it's about hope, and it's about faith, and you guys have to fight, and you're not alone. Writing down the events that have happened to you is a cathartic experience in and of itself. It releases the emotion out of your body. It does. It releases it. And I was inspired the day that I was in that meeting with those doctors. And these doctors were writing, they were, ooh, ah, I didn't know that was a flashback. Like, well, how did you not know? Well, we only read it in books written by another doctor who read it in books. So these were the first 12 guys that I ever met who actually looked to the line people to learn from the people that they were actually treating, to learn what this was all about. So then they were like, well, we want you to treat the residents at North Shore, and we want to tape record the next session so that we can use it as training tools. And so that's what I was inspired, how I was inspired to then say, I need to write a book to help survivors of trauma. And I sat down in September of 2012, and it took me 2 years to write and to figure out how to edit and to publish. And this is my testament, right, to the power of God, the power of faith, and a lot of what I've learned about healing from trauma. Because the journey is the place where we learn everything we need to get all those tools, and this interview is part of my journey. You listening to this interview, maybe it's part of your journey. My journey, I had to write it down. Writing your stuff, like I was saying, sometimes you want to write your stuff, write it down, take it outside, and burn it. Learn it in the wind, let it go. Some people tied to balloons, let it fly away. Me, I had to write it down. Stories about forgiveness, how that happens. Stories about how I get rid of anger, how I get rid of guilt. You know, still have that stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, still have that stuff. And it's like, damn it, there it is. Damn it, there it is, you know. So it's a daily event. And the minute I started writing this book, hardest thing I ever had to do. Horrible, reliving. Some of it was happy, great reliving. My wife, the experiences we had, she taught me how to live one day at a time. The name of this book is called From Anger to Enlightenment, a survivor story of faith, by me, Robert Palaszczuk. This book is important because, not because it's about me, because it's not about me. It is about healing from trauma, and it is a tool. It was a tool for me to write it, and now it is a tool for people who are reading it. I wrote this book also for the families of people, for the families of veterans, for the families of people who are survivors of child abuse, of domestic violence, of acts of terror like 9/11, shooting violence, stabbing violence. It doesn't matter for these families because the trauma may be different in the event, but it is all the same in the way it affects us, in our mind, in our bodies. And of course there's the physical pain from the injuries as well. But I wrote this also for the families so that they could learn how to deal with their spouses or children or parents who have these symptoms, what they are, how real they are. And just talk about, there are no coincidences and fate, right? Again, you may believe it, you may not, but fate is real. So I wrote this book and then I had to come up with a title, and I'm sitting in Huntington, having lunch with my friend Ron, having dinner with my friend Ron, and we're talking about the book and talking about, you know, a title. And we're talking and it came to me, From Anger to Enlightenment, because that's the story of my journey, from anger to enlightenment. And then one day, weeks later, I'm sitting there looking at the title, like I had to look at the title, and it had never dawned on me. It didn't dawn on me until I look at it, and it's staring me right in the face, right? And it's an acronym for the word fate. And I'm like, there is no possibility that that is an accident. That was always the title of the book that I was supposed to write, to bring faith and hope and healing into the lives of people who need it even more than I do. So there are going to be people in your life, you know, it's all about, for us, the people, the places, and the things that trigger us and make us worse or bring us to a place that we don't want to be. And some of these people may be your family members. And I try to teach people that when you eliminate something or you quit from a situation, quitting has a bad rap because it makes you feel like you lost. But quitting isn't losing. Quitting is helping you. Quitting is winning. When quitting or eliminating or detracting yourself from a person, a place, or a thing that hurts you, I have had to cut off people close to me in my own family because they are angry, they are, the glass is not even half full, and there's always going to be a disaster, or there's just a lot of anxiety from that person and a lot of anger from that person. And when people are like that, I cannot have people in my life sucking the life out of me, which I need just to survive, who are angry. And if you have to cut those people off, you're not being a bad person. You're helping yourself. You need to help yourself. You cannot help anybody else unless you help yourself. You can't love anybody else unless you love yourself. Loving yourself is not bad. That's not being selfish. Selfish is also has gotten a bad rap. You need to be selfish. You need to have love for yourself. You need to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you'll never know who anybody else is. You need to be strong, because you can't be strong for your family, your kids, or your wife if you're not strong yourself. So, and cutting people off, even if they are your family, sometimes is the better thing for you to do. You're in a battle, and these are tools. Ladies, gentlemen, kids, there is hope. There is hope. The minute that you think there's no hope is the minute that you lost your battle. I hope that it helps. I know that it will. Thank you all survivors. We are brothers and we are sisters, and we're here to help each other. God bless you all. Thank you very much.